Okay, so this is the second recipe. This is going to be pasta carbonara, which is really good, again, sort of weekday night recipe, especially for times when you are really in the mood for a pasta, you need some carbs. So first step, you've got to do this in order. This is really quite a fast dish and you need everything ready at certain times. So the first thing you want to do is fill a pot with some water and get it boiling. I just gave it a little bit of a head start here. So this is already hot water, but I'm going to boil it. So you want to get this going right away before you do anything else. Otherwise, you're going to reach the point where you need other stuff. You're going to need the pasta ready, and it's and you'll see what I mean anyway. So you need a pot for the water. Obviously, you also need a pot for making the main dish. So this is the kind of or a pan. This is the kind of pan that I would recommend. You can, of course, find these at cooking stores, but you can also find one usually at a pretty good price at something like HomeSense or something like that for probably $30-$40 or something like that. Of course, they can get very expensive, but if you go to one of those kinds of places, you can get it quite a bit cheaper. So you've got the water going, and as per the other recipe, you want to put some salt in there. So this lowers the boiling point of the water. It also will tend to add some flavor to the pasta itself as it's cooking. So about a tablespoon to 2. If we were in a restaurant, we would probably add more than that, actually. And then just gently stir it to get it starting to dissolve. Okay. In terms of ingredients, you need Italian pancetta. So this is a prepackaged cubed version. You can also get it. So this you will be able to find at most grocery stores around here. It's in the deli section next to the other deli meats. If you can't find it this way, or if you prefer to get the other type, you can get it from the deli counter itself. Not all places carry it, but it comes in it sort of looks like salami, a round tube, and you need to ask for it to be cut very quite thick. So instead of being a millimeter or 2 millimeters, you want them to be at least a centimeter thick. Or you can sort of go based on your pinky finger. So just a little bit less thick than your pinky finger, or about the same size. So quite a bit thicker than you would normally get a slice of, say, sandwich meat or something like that. But that's the slice thickness that you need if you get pancetta from, cut custom at the deli counter. You want about maybe 4 or 5 slices of that thickness. Okay, don't get 10 slices, don't get 20, just 4 or 5 of that 1 centimeter thickness. Don't get them too thin, otherwise it won't really work. So this is great in that it's already cut. It's exactly the same thing, already cut into cubes. What you have to do if you don't have it cut into cubes is to, it'll be obviously those round slices, and you have to cut them into 1 centimeter cubes. Okay, so this saves us that step in theory. And normally you don't have to do this, but let's pull it open. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So that's what you're going to be trying to, cut into yourself if you're cubing it yourself. So this package is just about the right amount in terms for our purposes. Second thing you need to do, and so the first thing being getting the water going, is to get some Parmesan and start grating it. So we need about 1.5 cups, maybe even 2 cups, but at least 1.5. So that's actually quite a bit of Parmesan to grate. But it's kind of a main feature of this dish, so you want to very carefully making sure you're not grabbing your fingers here. Grate some of this. So this kind of box grater works quite well for larger amounts like that. They're not expensive. You shouldn't spend a lot of money on getting one of these. If you're thinking of getting one, you should be able to get them for $10, even less. Okay. but you can use any type of grater, whatever works for you. This one is just a little more efficient and easier on the wrist. Okay, so this is almost about a cup and a half. Okay, so we're finished with their Parmesan. We're going to put a small amount of this aside for when we're actually eating it. So this goes on top. You will also potentially want to dice some parsley for a garnish, which you would just dice as fine as you can and then put in a second bowl there. So that goes on at the end. I'm not going to be using that today, so we'll just skip that. So our water sounds like it's about ready. So we're going to take our package of pasta. So this is about 500 grams. This recipe and many recipes are usually around 2/3 of that, which is kind of annoying in some ways, but that's the way it goes. So you end up with about 1/3 left. So I'd recommend, get a little container that you can keep these separately. So then when you get 1/3 of a package like this, you do it again, a month from now or 2 months from now, and you use another package, then you can put those together. You have another serving ready to go. So the way that you can measure it is just take your fingers like this. Should be about that much around. Okay. Put one little piece in there. You'll see it bubble. Just wait a moment. Okay. Then you drop it in. Trying to get it pushed in a little bit. Don't force it in too far. Okay. Just because we don't want it to break. All right. We're going to also dice the garlic. So we just want 1 clove of garlic. So again, take the flat side of your knife, rest it on top. Then you can take the skin off more easily. Okay. Get rid of this. And again, we're going to try to cube this. So this is the ideal way of cubing an onion too. So if you want to, or dicing an onion, do it the same kind of way. So take the tip of the knife, you leave a little connecting strip of whatever you're trying to dice, and go like this. Okay, so we got 1 millimeter widths, and it's not going to all kind of hang together perfectly, but it gives you a bit of a shortcut there. Okay, then you take this and rocking the knife, keeping your fingers out of the way, and then you can do the rest kind of like free form. But it's one way of making sure that everything starts off in a similar size. So when you're dicing, you'll end up with all different types of sizes, but you want to make them a little bit uniform, or at least control sort of the maximum size, because if you have really big chunk of garlic and with little small ones and you're trying to cook them, they might get small ones might get burnt, and the larger ones might not be cooked enough, which is not really it's not directly a problem, but it might mean that because raw garlic is more powerful than cooked garlic, it might give you too much of a garlic flavor in what you're eating. So anyway, so you've got these prepared in advance. Definitely have those ready. We're going to go over to our pan here. Turn this on. Okay, so you definitely need to use your range hood, your fan. You might not have one that's quite as powerful as this. Make sure that in that case that you put it on maximum. It's really noisy, I know, but you need to be able to deal with any smoking that might take place. So this dish you have to really watch. You have to make sure that you're here all the time. Don't try to drink wine and cook this. Generally, I would say drinking anything while you're cooking is probably a bad idea. So, but especially a dish like this, you really kind of have to be on top of things in terms of timing. You don't want to burn anything, and you don't want to bring your house down. So we're going to turn the heat. You'll notice I've got it up about 3/4 of the way here. So it's fairly high, so we do need a little bit of a higher temperature, and that's why, because we're using olive oil again, olive oil has a lower smoking point than other types of oil. So you have to watch the smoking a little bit more as a result of that. Okay, so we're gonna again neaten up as we're cooking here, so we don't end up with just a pile of stuff later on. A little bit of more oil there. So it's probably about a tablespoon to tablespoon and a half. You don't need a huge amount because we're going to be cooking the pancetta in here, and the pancetta obviously it's basically a form of Italian bacon, so it has there'll be a lot of fat rendering from it. So we can take this entire package once we get this heated up a little bit more, and we'll put it in. While waiting, I'll put away our cheese. Maybe we'll get just a little bit more cheese. It's always better to have a little more than you need than having not enough and scrambling at the last minute. Okay. Good. Okay, so we can put this away. And checking our pan again, we never want to leave that without knowing what's going on, for safety's sake. Okay, so this should be ready to drop this in. Okay, sizzling, so it's ready. And you'll need spatula, something to keep moving around when you need to. At first, just make sure they're arranged in a single layer, and just let them sit and cook for a little bit. Okay, so your pasta, you've got to go according to your packet instructions, but also, your taste, so al dente. So we're going to leave this without disturbing it too much, just to try to get some caramelization of the bacon, because again, caramelization enhances umami flavor. This is bacon, so we'll have salt as part, because it's a salted meat. It will automatically have salt, that salt taste embedded in there. So there'll be a nice synergy between the fat, the salt, and the umami from the caramelization if we get that working properly. Okay, so while that's going, and I would suggest that if you're not, used to cooking too much, and if you can do it, you might want to actually do the preparations over here, so you're never too far from what's going on over here. I'm okay with this. We'll see, but I think I'm okay with this because I've done this lots of times. So we've got 3 eggs. Take the first egg, crack it, open it just enough for the contents to fall out. That prevents too much of the eggshell from falling into your bowl. So don't crack it all the way open. You sometimes see this in commercials. They'll crack it open completely into 2 halves. That's definitely not what you want to do if you want to avoid eggshells in your bowl. So the first one is a whole egg. The second one is a little different. We actually need another bowl. So let's grab one here. Okay, so we need another bowl because what we're going to do is just take the yolk. Okay, so let the white kind of slide out again, just opening it just enough and going back and forth, okay, until you get most of the white out. Okay, that's one, then another. Okay, you will have to potentially open it a little bit more than halfway to get all the white out. Just back and forth a couple times to get the main part of it, and then the yolk goes in there. Okay, you can save the egg whites if you want. I'm not going to be using them, so I'll put those aside. And I'm going to wash my hands again. So I already, in fact, washed my hands twice off camera. So remember, this is you're doing this multiple times as you're cooking. All right, so we have, now let's check on the bacon, or the pancetta. I can hear it's starting to crisp up here. Okay, so you can see that nice caramelization happening. Try to grab a piece here. See this? Okay, so that's exactly what we want. We don't want it burning, but we want this to be hot enough that it is actually caramelizing. Okay, so from this point, things happen actually relatively quickly. So we're probably about 5 minutes into the cook time of the pasta, which means it's within probably 4 or 5 minutes of being ready. And we're also within 4 or 5 minutes of this being ready. So that means that we have to get everything else together quickly. So we're going to take our eggs and whisk them. Okay. Then we're going to take our parmesan and fold it into the mixture here. A little bit more. Okay. Then we're going to get some pepper in just a moment, but first we're going to take our garlic over, and it's going to now go in here with our pancetta. We wait until, the last minute or two, because garlic will, it'll burn if we leave it in the entire time. So again, timing is pretty important there. All right, so we have our egg. We want some salt and some pepper. So probably about maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and about 1/2 salt. Mix it in. Depending on your egg, it might be more or less yellow than this, more or less thick, but that's essentially an example of how you want it to look. We'll bring it over and put it aside. Check in on our pepper. Okay, I should say with the pasta, actually you want it a little bit less, for this recipe, a little bit less than what you would consider fully cooked. So, because we're going to cook a little bit of it in the pan.